Okay, should be running. How's the sound? Okay. So today's stream may be a disturbed one. I have a dog that is dog that is not wanting to settle today. So I'll try and make it as focused as I can, but apologize. Okay. So where were we? So yesterday, after stream, I did do some work on the whole getting the redirect for the user. I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay. I tried to. I was working on the redirect for the user to when they are logged in, if they go to the main screen, it redirects immediately to the dashboard, right? So again, if I go here and try to go to the landing page now, it will show the login page briefly, but then it will immediately redirect to the dashboard. Okay, that's because it does a check on the authenticated, so there is a slight pause there, and before it does it. So the next step is to build an actual layout, a dashboard, and get the logout and the profile and the menus and stuff in here. I have today, let's see if I can bring it up. So I have got a subscription to Mobbin. The next year. And this is, it collects a bunch of websites together and allows you to see how they kind of function. So I can kind of review how they work and see what the flows look like, look for inspiration. Not copying, but look for inspiration and look for ideas, because obviously these companies are paying a lot of money to get their sites together. Being able to look to them for inspiration is not a problem. But it breaks down all the use cases, the flows as such. Logging in, logging out, registration, all those sorts of things. To kind of give you an idea of how things work. So what I'm looking for here, I'm looking at CRM, because CRM is the closest thing to what I'm doing. Now, creating a message, I gotta find something that's like close to what I do. So if I go to customer support, software tools, resources, user insights platform, continuous product discovery platform, Zendesk, Airtable, MailChimp, right? These things all have different aspects. Customer service and software and sales CRM. So let's go to Zendesk. I've got a very unhappy puppy. And if we go down here, we can go to, where is it? I think I saw it before. There's different types of things. So we got like adding users, adding agents. And again, I'm not looking to copy here. I'm just looking for an idea and how they make things flow, right? Back here, intelligent CRM. There's one that I found earlier on that's actually perfect for what I'm after. Like I don't know that exists. You see some of them are a little bit more involved than others. HubSpot maybe. I clicked on that one. Creating an email, creating inbox, setting up, creating an email template, settings, projects, adding a task. And again, it kind of gives you an idea of when they actually, when the update's from, so you can kind of ask them to see if they can get an update. Malvi, how are you doing? So what I'm looking for here, let's see if I search on web. I'm looking for web specifically. So as far as this application goes, mobile isn't a primary concern, right? The workflow I'm looking for is not one of mobile. The mobile use case is not the strongest for using for things like project planning and stuff. It's built for desktop stuff because it's built for gathering information, getting things together, etc. When it comes down to analytics and measurements and things, maybe there's mobile views. But right now, I'm not focused too strongly on the mobile version. Otherwise, I'm going to end up in a constant loop of trying to make sure everything is mobile friendly, and that slows me down because it's not my skill set, right? Create new project. Can I see that? CRM. Let's look. CRM filters. Oh, it's just filtering that down. How you doing, Mulvey? Customer insights. There's one I found, but create a project. Here we go. There's one here. So again, they go. Their navigation's up on the top. There, when you go to create project, they have new project here. You then have a pop-up, right? That's a new project, right? The closest to what I'm doing, so that might be useful inspiration for when I'm adding boards or teams or whatever, right? So go over here, go to something like Zendesk. So Zendesk is a ticketing system, right? So adding a ticket, right? So I can look at this, and this is from January 2023, so it's a little outdated, but not too far. So here we have the screen, we go to add in the top left-hand corner, we go to ticket, right? So this is probably closer to what I want to see, right? In terms of usable space on the screen. The information is nice and clear, layout's clean. The things down the side I don't really care about, but you know, that's the thing. So that's not a bad layout. This is mobbing.com, which I'm using. You can get access to a few for free, but I just paid for a year pro subscription to try and get myself some insights as I move into this UI UX world, right? Because I don't have a designer available to me, right? So I need to kind of focus. And they give you iOS, Android apps and stuff as well, so you can see how people do mobile things, right? So I can go here and see these three have mobile apps, and I can see how they lay out, etc. So it is useful how they do certain things. So from an inspirational standpoint, I'm definitely looking forward to be able to use this a lot. Customer support tools, right, from Plain. Maybe not the most complicated of applications, but it is there. Come on, dog, settle down. So, you know, I'm going to continue to look at these workflows as for kind of clarification as I go forward. Here you go, RTO. creating a workspace, right? So this is very nice. I like this one. And they do give you ability to see where people clicked, etc. Drag and drop. So, and I can actually, there is some Figma tools I can actually import. So, yeah, I didn't notice that before. So I might actually have the ability to use them in Figma as well. Okay, so I need to go to what's it called? Tailwind. So I am going to go to components. I'm logged in. I can browse components. So really here I'm looking at application shells, right? These are layouts for the entire application. I've got to learn how to make, I think I've got to learn how to make these all nested underneath one component. Or I can make it used to be modules, right? But I don't know how component nesting works in Angular 17. So I'm gonna have to learn that, because obviously all the views under here are gonna end up from dashboard or whatever, or you know, maybe this is that's landing, right? I could have promotion and then the actual app. So, yeah, so I've got to learn about the organization of the code underneath here. You know, maybe I'm doing it poorly, maybe I'm doing it well, I don't know. So I'm going to learn more as I go along through this. But the priority is right now, get a layout in place and then figure out how to build that out appropriately and get that working. So we need to do, this is a stacked layout, sidebar layout. Let's have a look. That's a sidebar layout. That's closer to what, if we look at Zendesk, right? Zendesk is closer to this style. It's that nav down the left, collapsible nav down the left, then the bar across the top with things that you can put actions in, and then the actual content of the page. So again, there. Now, these may or may not be scalable. It's going to take a while to go through these and build these out. If they require JS, I'm going to have to export them and like reconstitute them in something else. Theme-wise, that's going to be the hardest part, right? Because I'm going to end up with a bit of a challenge there in terms of light and dark mode, etc. Again, I think I've got to focus first on functionality, then on refinement. So I may end up redoing this entire UI UX stuff later on, but going through it and building out the basics is the primary focus. So I just got to keep an eye on Mr. Puppy, because he's got to behave. Okay, so I think I'm going to go with this one for now. Good morning, Amal. How are you doing? How's things? So this one makes the most sense. It's got everything that I'm not trying to copy necessarily here, but again, I think this layout resonates well with me. So if we use the search functionality, we can put that up there. We can also put actions up here. Navigating between teams, boards, planning, etc. One of the ideas I do have is switching out the application. So planning, ticketing, and stories would actually be separate applications that you'd actually switch between here. So this menu would be context sensitive to the application you're using. Because again, what I'm thinking is maybe I offer this as kind of a stack that you can purchase a single component of, right? Or license a single component of. So you can say, okay, I only want the ticketing system. So you just see the ticketing when you log in. I only want the planning. I only want the stories. I mean, stories without planning doesn't really fit very well, maybe. But you could still use stories that way. You could just generate new stories and create a backlog. So there's no harm in doing it that way. But that way, there's an ability to kind of flex the system and make it smaller or larger based on what it needs. So maybe the colors change between application stacks. So that's kind of one of the things I'm considering in terms of layout and design. Oh, I got a second follow on Kick, and then it unfollowed. Oh, awesome. So I think I'm going to go with this layout for now. So the way that this requires JS, obviously, because it's going to do things. So what we're going to do is we copy the code, and then I go to Dev, right? And this, when I'm signed into it, allows me to paste that code in, right? I should do. Actually doing it. Oh, it is. Yeah, that is it. Okay. That's the actual layout. Hi, Kenny. How you doing? How's things with you today? I really want to replace my flooring and put mats everywhere. So my mat is just on the edge of my chair, just wheeled off the edge of it. It's driving me nuts. Okay, so this is Tailwind, right? I'm going to take this layout. If I take the code, it's got JavaScript in it, so I can use this application for Tailwind UI to Angular UI. So it breaks it down into HTML and TypeScript for me, so I can then create the dashboard, right? So here, what do I want to do here now? So now this is a dashboard what is this? So when you log in, right, you get to this screen. This screen then going to, I technically want to go into a separate module in old school Angular. How do I do that in new school Angular? I'm trying to keep my Windows under control today. So I want to do I want to do nested route components Angular 17. Angular routing. Let's have a look. I don't want to see the basics of components. I can get it. I've seen a lot of stuff on Angular. Common routing tasks. Planning a basic route. Getting route information. Nesting routes. I've seen a lot over time of Angular, of the web in general moving to components, etc. Right, children, right? So what I'm looking for here is you used to be able to kind of hand off essentially to a separate module. So dashboard component here, right? If I look at routes here, dashboard component here then has I think my layout's going to make me confused here. App. So I can, so other apps I've looked at, I create views and components separately, right? But components is kind of the name for everything, which is going to be weird. I'm going to remove that. In terms of views, app landing, kind of like the views folder. But dashboard is going to contain more than just. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can do it. Because if I do so the way the app component works, app component doesn't do imports router outlet. Right. So what does a nested route do? Right. That's just a child A, child B. So the component has children components. You can navigate to them. Because I kind of want to say, okay, well, hi Syncek, how you doing? Learning Angular or just developing stuff? Reacquainting myself with Angular. Angular is not something that I've used in quite a while, and Angular 17 is quite a drastic change for me. UI is not my strong point. So what I'm working on is, if I put a logout button here, app logout button. So I'm trying to learn some new things as well as doing so that's going to do that. So I am building a platform for agile project management stuff, right? Really. And I'm going to use Angular. I've used Angular in the past, but the new component-based approach, rather getting rid of the modules and stuff, I'm having to relearn some of what I understood before. I also haven't, like I said, I haven't used it in a year and a half, so it's not totally alien to me. Okay, so that works. So the last couple of days I've been working on the user registration process, being able to add a new user, etc. For the last several months, I've been working on the actual backend application, right? So I'm not building the app. I've built a lot of the structure of the application out. I'm finally getting to the view components. Backend in C#, yeah. So ultimately, I'm aiming for this sort of design, right? So I have the client, API gateway, right side goes to the individual components. I'm not calling them microservices because they're not microservices. They're a little larger than that. I publish information through Kafka. I have a consumer that consumes this into a database for GraphQL to query so that the client can pull readable data and whatnot down to the client. So this is the design I'm going for. I have all of this structure in place. I'm just starting to build a client because obviously visibly it's easy to demonstrate what I'm doing with a UI than it is to just say, hey, look at this API, isn't it fancy? So yeah. So as I'm doing stuff, if there's questions, thoughts, opinions, you're more than welcome to share. The stream is not about me being productively code-wise. It's about me sharing this journey. So if people have thoughts and opinions, I'm more than happy to listen to them as I go. So what I'm working on now is figuring out what the structure should look like for this. So my route here, my dashboard route here, navigates me in there when I'm logged in. So it always goes to /dashboard. But from dashboard, what happens, right? And is that dashboard, is that kind of app, right? So if I do views direct, let's have a look. Go schematics. See if it'll give me that. So that's deprecated. Essentially what I want to do is create an entire structure underneath there. So again, this isn't, I'm not sure that these live under views right now, in so much as I kind of want to create something that looks more like app and then has views here. So that not views. Like, actually, no, that would be dashboard would live under app there. App would be a landing point for. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what components are in this world. Let's see. Gemini was pretty good yesterday. How do I create a nested route? How do I create a component with distinct routes? Angular 17. So I did learn yesterday that ChatGPT will tell you it's Angular 17 and then give you deprecated code. It's not a module anymore, is it? Isn't that the point? We're not using modules anymore. Angular 13, yeah. That doesn't know what I'm talking about necessarily. Hey, on that, thoughts on Django? I'm not a Python developer. I haven't really looked at Django. I mean, I've seen a lot of people use it. It seems very, very effective. But it's not something I've directly used, I'm afraid. I tend to stay in my C# world for the most part, purely because I have no need to stretch out there. I'm just checking dev streams because I'm on a learning course as well, but didn't code before, and I chose a different framework for front end, back end. That's why I asked stuff to check different developer experiences and workflows. Nice. So for reference, I'm not learning necessarily. I've been a developer for 25 years, professionally. I have worked in a variety of technologies. Angular is something that I've not touched directly as a developer. I've led teams before for the last couple of years. So my hands-on experience with Angular has been limited, purely because of other things. So yeah. So I'm not a new developer. I'm just getting myself reacquainted with something that I have done for the past. So when did we touch Angular for the first time? 2015? Yeah, 2015. So, that's thank you for the follow, Sinkek. That depressed loser 95. Wow, that is quite the username. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're well. Yeah, I've done this a long time. But again, it's so for me, it's just kind of getting myself reacquainted and building this application up, right? So the intention, and I was just kind of looking through at the beginning of the stream. So I'm looking at this Mobbin website, Mobbin, and kind of looking for inspiration in what do I want to lay my app out like? How do I want to do it? Right. So they have all these apps and they show the workflows. So I'm not copying, but I'm kind of looking for the inspiration. So right now, my goal for today is to lay out a dashboard that will allow me to, I think this works well for what I'm trying to do. So we'll have left-hand navigation, we'll have as much screen space as possible. This navigation will collapse. It will have a bar across the top. We can search in there, and we can put the user profile icon up there, so we give as much space as possible to the actual application. So that's what I'm kind of aiming for. What I want to do is, obviously, I want to make a kind of, now when you log in, you are brought into a landing area that is now driven by whichever page you're on. So it's going to be kind of shared header and navigation down the side, and then the content is going to be in here, so the actual page there. What do you think is the best approach to learn new stack? Do something with it. Try and build something, right? And build more. And if you feel that you've hit the limits of what you've done with that, build something else, right? Keep pushing yourself to learn a little bit more. Like, oh, I need to, find something that you're passionate about, right? So for me, one of the things I normally use, let's see if it's up right now, is I have a large collection of video games, right? I love video games. I do want to spend more time playing them, but I also want to develop applications. So what I do is when I'm learning something new, what's the worst that happens? What if I build something in a bad way and I don't even know that? What's a bad way, right? I'm not a big subscriber to doing things the right way, right? Finding the right way as you go. The right way is what works, what you can work with, what you can maintain, and what is understandable to you, right? If you write some code and it doesn't read very well, and you look at it and don't think it reads very well, change it, make it read better, right? So if I go into let's go into commands, associate user with tenant, right? So as I'm reading through this code, if I feel that this doesn't read correctly, I should change it, right? So here I'm saying, okay, well, does the tenant user exist? If the tenant user exists, then do this. Otherwise, create the tenant user, right? I'm reading it in a clear and concise way to make sure that I'm not confusing myself in the future, right? So there's no bad way. Just build something, reflect on it. Don't think that you have to have the right answer the first time. The reason I show this application is because when I'm building something new, I generally use my games database as examples. So I build something that queries data, that shows something, and this is not perfect. If a Blazor developer comes and looks at the code for this, they're going to go, if a primarily Blazor developer, I mean, that's got a lot more experience, they look at this code, they're going to say, oh, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. Am I? It's working, right? If you're working with other people, standards and practices can help, but that's because you're working with other people. So when you're building on your own, don't be so self-conscious of the right way or the wrong way or whatever. Build something. You'll learn lessons. There's no harm in starting again or changing things and growing and learning. You'll learn a new technique. You'll learn this. Don't think that you have to say there is only a right way of doing it, because there's a lot of opinions out there as to what right is. Yeah, TBD is right here. If you can explain what you're doing and things work, you've built something in a right way. Yeah. Don't make your thoughts about while you're learning, you will write a lot of code where you later think how you could write this. Yeah. It's don't think you're gonna get it perfect, right? Again, if you've just seen this stream, this code now looks very different than when I started, because I replaced components of it. I decided, oh no, I'm going to change it. Let's re-engineer it. Let's change it all around a little bit, and let's make it, because I wasn't happy with the way it was structured. So, thank you for following Fail Clips. Welcome. Hope you're well. Don't build apps by tutorials. Do your own idea and use documentation and search for stuff that you don't know or don't understand. Don't get into the tutorial void. You can get stuck there. Following tutorials is a some people can do it, some people can't. It's not always an easy thing to do. I get bored following tutorials, or I'll pick and I'll be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I'll move on and do this and stuff. So I get that. There isn't really a wrong way to build. Yeah. Refactoring your stuff is a strong skill to build too. Yeah, being comfortable changing code, not just, because one of the things I always talk about is you should not be afraid of your own code, right? If you're afraid of code, you won't change it. And if you won't change it, you could add more stuff on top that makes it worse over time. So don't be afraid of pulling code apart and fixing it and making it better. And better, again, is a measure that you provide, not that someone else says, oh, well, I wouldn't do it that way. And if someone does say I wouldn't do it that way, you ask them to demonstrate why they wouldn't do it that way and why it's better and the things it does, and you learn a little bit more. Also, code isn't static. You can always format it again. Yep, absolutely. True, just go from A to B. Later, you're going to find a faster way to do that. I chased for perfect code for over 20 years now and didn't reach it every time. I think there's a better way to do it. Absolutely, right? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have as software developers, especially today, is we have technologies moving at a pace. The things are moving. You have to do something. Sometimes there's going to be a better way that comes along, and you're going to be left behind later on as you grow. And this is the difference between a junior and a senior, is the amount of time that person, or what I think should be the difference between a junior and senior, is the amount of time that person spent growing, right, and learning. And if that person has a lot of experience that they actually can draw upon, that's not always the case, unfortunately, then they can help other people and they can guide other people, and you can learn from them as well. So, as you grow, learn to search, learn to look up stuff. It's not a shame to go and Google search. I kind of got into a conversation on this yesterday. I joined a conversation rather. It's not a shame to use Google to search for what you want. You'll see me do it all the time on the stream. I don't know everything. I can't possibly know everything. So don't think you have to know it out of the block. Rambler Geek, good afternoon. Hope you're well. Hope things are okay. So when you absolutely beginning, you can follow tutorials, but after a tutorial, you should review what you did and learn a bit more. Again, Kenny, I think it definitely depends upon who you are, because I don't do tutorials very well. I get bored, and I always have. Most tutorials only take you so far, and often talking about a new feature and often have gaps and makes it hard to fill the gaps, to be sure. Right, and one of the problems I've always had with demonstrations, right, of things like Kafka, of things like SQL Server, etc., they give you enough knowledge to do something quickly, but they don't always indicate the cost of what it is to follow that pattern going forward. So you have to get the experience of building the software, but also you have to understand that this pattern might not be something that is sustainable, right? So again, time and experience. You know, build, write software. That's the best way of learning anything. Software wise, obviously. Yeah, you're not going to learn Spanish through writing software. I watch tutorials too much that I get sick of them, but I don't watch those. I feel like I'm missing some important towards the stack. Again, I would say, so this application, this is a passion project, right? This is something I do because I love games, so it makes sense. And I can use this and reference this, right? So, and I enjoy doing it, so it's easy to learn things. Oh, how do I track this? How do I put, because in this application I can go in here and I've got, come on, wakey. No, you want to, it's doing something. One dab STR, welcome. Thank you for the follow, appreciate it. This should expand. It's taking a sweet time. Yeah, things have gone sleepy. That's how I learned code when I was 11 years old, centuries ago, following tutorials and then modifying until I have what I want and understand the way in between. Never told. Follow it one-to-one blindly. There you go. So things like this, right? I want to see a chart of the pricing changing, right? I want to be able to see, so this actually calls APIs, it does all sorts of different stuff, but it's a passion project, right? I've built many different versions of this application, right? This is just the one that sticks because it's got the pieces in I need to collect the data. But if I pop this up, it'll actually do a search on the pricing, so I can get the pricing from the website. I can track the pricing history. I can actually see the data, all those prices changing. So again, this isn't useful to anybody else. This is useful to me, but it means that I've learned along the way how to build an Angular application. I've got components in here. I've got different events happening. I've got all sorts of stuff happening. I can do search, etc. So it's something I've built upon. It's not something that I just generated in a couple of days. Right? And part of why I'm showing this application on stream, and this isn't a beginner application. If you're interested in an application that's more friendly to beginners, on Mondays and Tuesdays, I do an application called Water Drink Water, referred to as it's Water Drink Water. That is an application. The code's all available. I only develop it on stream. I do not develop it outside of stream. This I do. So that application is built in a rough way with the intention that we can talk about architectural patterns, we can talk about design, we can go through the code, we can improve the code. You can pull the code and tinker with it and do whatever you want with it. You can look at the requests that are there. You can practice doing a pull request if you want to. We don't have to accept all pull requests. So if you want to just go through the effort of making a change and then doing a PR and seeing what that looks like on stream, we can do that, right? So it's very much aimed at being more beginner friendly. It is C# and the application UI on it right now is Blazor. But again, if you want to practice creating a React application or another application because you want to focus more on front end, you could build that in there and learn how to incorporate that with an API. So the API is there and the UI is completely separate from it. So that's all possible. So Water Drink Water is a project I do on Monday and Tuesday on stream. Yeah. As always, I'm always happy to talk about software development, right? So the stream is not about, isn't Blazor full stack? No, not necessarily. In that instance, there's a Blazor WebAssembly application that we're building, and it uses API. Is MVC SP core outdated? Not really. You can still use MVC. Microsoft hasn't really deprecated anything of late. they focused more on Blazor. I don't like using Blazor necessarily, which is why I'm using Angular for this application. Right, that's why I've got two editors open. But they are still building, because it's all built on the same stack, right? ASP.NET Web API, you got minimal APIs, you got controllers and stuff still. So yeah, they haven't completely outdated it essentially. So I think it's confusing of Microsoft, to be honest. There's just all these different technologies lying around, and you can't tell which one you should use or shouldn't use, and everyone's got an opinion on that. Blazor is definitely where they're heading. Windows Forms every day. Is anything ever updated? No. And you can update to .NET 8 and still use Windows Forms, right? Well, you can't just jump from 4.8, but the idea is there, right? Because Windows Forms still exists. They brought it back and built it again. So Microsoft doesn't have a very clear web strategy, if I'm honest. But you can build all sorts of stuff with it. So this application is built. All these are APIs, right? So the planning, teams, tenant management. These are APIs. And I use a technology called fast endpoints, right? So I move away from controllers because I don't like controllers in the MVC pattern because they become like kind of, you risk adding a lot of logic in there. So I design an application in a very different way these days. But yeah. So if I was building a new application, would I go with MVC? No. I like this style now. Folder-based routing. No, it's not folder-based routing. So what I've got is their endpoints, right? So I use a folder for the actual thing that I'm doing. Again, not necessarily a resource. So this in this case, for this one, aligns to a resource, but this doesn't. This is an action, and these are use cases, right? And then I post to that endpoint. So the post goes to register, right? And in here, I then gather the data and I send that command forward to my application layer. Right? So this is just gathering data, doing some basic validation, and then sends the command forward to the rest of the application. There's no actual logic of any real form in here. There's no business behavior in here. And then the application is over here, right? And that does the rest. So this picks up and carries on from here. So I like this style because it allows me to think about the thing that I'm doing quickly. It means I can't create, if I create a controller for tenant management, then register, verify, users are potentially going to all go into that same controller. If another developer comes along, they might be like, which controller does that go in? I'll put it in that controller. So you end up with these massive files of loads of, these sorts of things. And it gets very confusing to navigate. So from a design perspective, I kind of prefer this layout and style. And it does seem that the APIs that are doing that are kind of heading that way. You also don't have to do that. You can do, if you want API endpoints, you can use minimal API, which I find funny because people are building structure on top of minimal APIs, which kind of is controllers. So, yeah. That's that. So, like I said, I am more than happy to sit and talk about software development. I'm more than happy to answer questions. There is a Discord. If anyone's interested, you can join in there. If you have further questions, you want to share projects, you want to ask questions about your project, I am as responsive as I can be, and there are other people in there that sometimes do help. So the community can only grow, right? That's the kind of the idea. But yeah, I am a more experienced developer. So some of what I show on this stream, especially the Wednesday through Friday streams, maybe a little bit more advanced, but you know, again, if you have a question, I'm more than happy to stop and answer the questions. So, okay, so what I'm trying to do here is, before I copy this into my application as a whole, I kind of want to figure out what. See, that's going to change more than that, right? Can you navigate out into a separate app? No, that would be bad. I don't want to even play around with that right now. I'm not advanced enough at Angular to be able to tackle that challenge. I don't even know why I said that. Okay. So right now you get into dashboard when you log in, or you know, you go to landing, you go through, let's go through that process. So you get into landing. That's just because the redirect URL's incorrect there. So you go through landing, you can go through here. It validates poor right now on the password validation. You need to clean that up. You go through, you can create all your information, you select your country, right? And then you register. And then when you come back, you can sign in. Yes, deflux is in the email that I use there. And then when you go there, you get to the dashboard, right? So if I change, so the app component has the router outlet in it, right? The index HTML is the top level. If I do h4bgy HTML, really? That's acceptable? What does that do to everything? Ugh. Why does that need to be up at that level? Okay, we're not changing that. Got Tailwind Forms installed, so we don't need to worry about that. So this here is going to be the dashboard, right? But I want to be able to load this. Like, there's the actual content, right? Everything else is a wrapper. Can you have nested router outlet Angular? Does that work? Oh look, dashboard. Okay, so you can do it. So let's experiment with that first, right? Let's make sure we can do. Right. So now in here, how does that work? Because in the application app config, we do that. That's the, how do you have nested components? Angular 17, nested component with routing. Because they're all showing the child routes. I don't want to have one. What I'm trying to avoid here is one massive file with routes all through it, right? Standalone, that's what, standalone components, that's what I'm actually after. Import load component, load children. As understood, you would like to have a decoupled routing definition so that your feature routes do not need to be provided with the root route object. Load children is indeed the correct choice here, but routing is a way of coupling dependencies, but do it loosely instead of strong coupling like using blah 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 blah. The following pattern is blah blah blah. Employee management, load children, import, then right. If you do not want to go the standalone route, you need to use Angular Classic method of routing. I don't want to use that. I don't want to use modules. I'm not doing it this way. Micro front end revolution. There's so many different things we could do. So many different technologies. Again, modules, I can't use modules. So that's not. How to register nested routes on a standalone component. See, this seems like considering the, and this is one of the problems with tutorials, right? And why it will leave you standing. So if I go to the Angular documentation and they show me the Toro heroes, where is it? Right, Triangular. Angular.io. Learn more. Docs. Getting started. Try it. Tutorials. Your first Angular tutorial tour of heroes. Add navigation. Here we go. Add the routing module. Right. So this is the Angular 17 documentation, right? So Angular.dev is Angular 17. Angular.io is Angular prior. Nice. Good job. So the tutorials don't show me anything. And what is Angular? Angular's roadmap. Introduction. Here you go. Deferrable views. That's one of the big things, deferrable views. That's why standalone, I think. That is useful. You didn't have to, you used to have to load everything. Enabling routing, right? Create an app route, yes, add routing, import router outlet. Ta-da. Okay. Now, this use case is a common use case, right? And I get it. Putting it into a tutorial isn't necessarily easy, but you could have an advanced actions or something like that. This is a common thing to do, right? Where you don't want all your routes sat in this one massive. If this application is going to have many dozens of routes easily, whether it be reporting views, whether it be analytics views, whether it be screens with lists on them, whether it's going to have all these different views. So if I build this all as one routing file, that's going to be massive and it's going to be unwieldy, right? So nested routes is something that is common. So where is my nested route stuff? Right? And this is where tutorials fall down, is when you get stuck on this sort of stuff. And that's kind of why I like streaming this stuff, because it means that I can figure out some of those challenges. And if it's worthwhile capturing, then it can be captured on video, and then I can share my experience. But define a route, add a title to a route. I get that. Link to a route. So dashboard. How do I get routes in there? So in the regular one, the routes are defined here, and I add the routes in provide router. So maybe that's how. So that's in, where is it? Imports, app config. Yeah, tutorials isn't for the advanced stuff, like so many routes. You can't have a tutorial for every feature, you would overload the learner. Right, I'm not saying that you should have. I'm saying that you should have an advanced use cases thing, because it's something that you do, right? Here's how we expect you to use this. Because if you're at Angular 17, right, and you've changed up your entire design to use these standalone components, right? Which I'm not sure now. I'm thinking about the wording. I'm like, maybe modules is the problem. Right, but they got rid of modules. That's the problem. Modules is no longer a thing. You have to import. These are imported as providers. They're not actually modules anymore. That's why I'm confused. But that's what I'm saying. A more advanced tutorial, or oh, by the way, if you come in from Angular 16 and you used to do routing this way, here's how you do routing now, right? That sort of stuff is where I think you should focus as well. The wrong thing to do here is create a module, because modules aren't supported in the same way, because they're standalone component stuff. Right? This on Angular 16, this was required. On Angular 17, it's default. Yeah, they got rid of it. That's what I'm saying. Modules aren't a thing. Standalone components, because if you look, you used to do stuff in app module. Well, app module doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Because if I look at the placeholder app, right, the placeholder app uses Angular 16 front end placeholder client app source. This is an Angular 16 app, right? It still has app module, right? So you import all the modules. In Angular 17, you import providers from these modules that exist, so they give that bridging. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. This is a thing that they've deprecated. So in this one, if you want standalone, you actually go and say standalone true, right? I don't know what impact that has, but I'm trying to learn. So, oh wow, it's 10 past. Maybe one of those days where I'm gonna get to where I want to be right at the end, I think. But so, yeah, and this code is wrong, because in 17 it's default. If you want to upgrade to Angular 17, I think it supports it. It's deprecated, right? So it will work with it, but the default is standalone now, whereas the default in 16 was still modules, but you could say standalone. So I'm trying to learn those differences. But as far as I understand it, modules are not the way to go anymore. Because yeah, these are imported as kind of things. So can I do in landing in here? Can I do providers and do that, and then do provide router. And that's not that route. That's let's do file dashboard routes.ts. Go in here, copy that, and then get rid of them. Worry about the other thing in a minute. Dashboard component. Route guard can activate. And then do path. What's this going to be? Let's say help component. If we create dashboard, new schematic component. This is going to be, let's call this the help. Oh, we're now going to just break the schematics. Okay. Help. New component. Oh, you do not. It's because I'm calling it help. It's how it's feeding it through. Dear, that's funny. It's not schematics being broken. I think it's because I'm calling it help. That's amusing. Let's do test. Test. Because that's a command line. That's just a straight up command line, so I can put all the skip tests and stuff on there, right? Hi, Junicus. How you doing? So this is going to be dashboard routes. That's going to be test. That's going to be test component. Can activate. Can activate. The activate is a route guard, so I have to be logged in to see it, right? So I can't just see it randomly. That's going to be that. Okay, what don't you like? Environment providers is not assignable to type provider. Oh dear. Working those horrible evenings. Type is not assignable to provider. Singular router. So the problem is I'm using router outlet on dashboard as well as using, so I'm kind of combining both this and this in one. Let's see. Again, I'm guessing here. I'm not. Right, because that's. Oh, hold on. All true. Yep. Imports router outlet. App config. Yeah, I can imagine. That's rough. Right, because it's not application config, is it? Problem. So it doesn't like that. Okay. So that provider is the wrong type. Hi, Shy. Doing good. How are you? So again, I've got to learn how to nest this. Okay, good. How's Angular been treating you? Not bad. I mean, I've got it so that you can now. So now when you're logged in, it'll navigate. So I got that working yesterday, with a little bit of the permission service now that will get the auth service, check if it's authenticated, and then I created a guard. So now it's a function, not a class that you add to can activate. So they changed that. So so here I just inject the permission service and return can activate on that. That obviously will get more complex as I get actual permissions and stuff in there. And then on the routing, you can just do that. What I'm trying to learn now is without modules, how do I do a nested route? Right. So dashboard should hand off, and then dashboard should have everything else. Although I'm still not certain about that layout. But how do I do that? And yeah, and I got a subscription to Mobbin today. Mobbin, whatever you want to call it. This is an application. This is a website where basically they collect a bunch of different applications, and they document the workflows. So thank you for the like, Shy. If I go to productivity, I can see, okay, here's a calendar. I can go and say productivity is probably closer, but campsite, here you go. Where teams share video, and you can see all the use cases down here, how they customize profile, and they kind of screenshot them all. You can see the hotspots as well, so you can see where people are clicking to actually do the things. And they save, and yeah. You can actually go through it. So this I wanted to get to. Thank you for the look, Shy. Get some inspiration for how to make these workflows come together. So they've got 58 workflows from April last year to do iOS and Android layouts, so you can see the differences. And web is obviously where I'm focused right now. So I can go to CRM, and I'm looking specifically at Zendesk. This is a layout I kind of feel fits more with what I want to do. So I'm kind of going for this navigation down here, search and stuff up here, profile, etc., and then as much space possible here. So yeah, it cost $100 for a year, but I think it's worth it considering what I'll be able to do it from. Okay, after upgrading with Angular 16, I met this error. Provider should be an application config. Yeah. So standalone components. Standalone components provide a simplified way to build Angular applications. Standalone components, directives, and pipes aim to streamline the authoring experience by reducing the need for modules. Okay. Components, directives, and pipes can now be marked as standalone. Angular classes marked as standalone do not need to be declared in a module. Okay, so Canny, there's an answer. So you can use modules. You can use modules inside of components. So it's reducing the need to create the structure around modules. Cool, is not that bad. You might be able to get stuff you want and then cancel the subscription. Yeah, you mean even if I keep it around for the rest of the year. I was just saying that modules are not completely gone, right? What they're saying is that standalone is intended to kind of reduce the need for having modules by default, right? So modules still exist. It's just you don't have to use them if you don't want to. So in this case, I probably do want to use modules. Yeah. Import, then so I'm just going to kind of figure out how to providing services. So I kind of do want to create a new module then, don't I? Dashboard is a new module. Views. Let's go with this. Let's go with modules. View. Schematic. Module. Dashboard. Yeah, that's fine. View. Module. Is this? This is planning. Let's play that afterwards. Planning module. Okay. So now let's create under planning. Let's create views. Get rid of tests just so I don't have more fluff. Move dashboard in there. So right now the application should, yeah, okay. So it's still going to work because it's using the component. It referenced that one, right? But now I want to do, route, provide router. And then I want to do planning.routes. So planning.routes.ts. That would be looking like that. Oh, where did I just put that file? Oh, there you go. Oh, not there. Level. It goes away. That goes away. Edge of that stays. The default is dashboard component. So we're going to go in there anyway. Okay. Then that would be planning routes. Planning routes. How do you have the same problem still? I'm not bootstrapping, that's the problem. So this was possible, right? Nested module with routes. Angular. How to do routing on nested module. Router module. Okay, so that would be router module dot for child. There we go. Now, how does this work now? So, is router outlet going to work there? Can I lay the dashboard out and then just swap out the view? That's the challenge. Component. This is going to be, so dashboard component doesn't need to be standalone. So how do we declare? Right. Imports. So that would. Ooh. Learn. Oh, I don't need dashboard routes. What am I doing? So the plan here is what I'm going to do. We best to demonstrate. I have the app entry point. What I'm going to end up trying to do is have planning stories and tickets as completely different dashboards, right? Cool. So then you'll enter the app, you'll get to the landing page, which if you're logged in will redirect, and it will redirect to whichever one you're trying to go to. So for right now, I'm going to worry about planning, right? So what I'm thinking of is that when I get this built, that'll be broken for a minute, but the application will have a different color scheme per section, right? So if you're in planning, it looks one way. In stories, it looks another. If you're in tickets, it looks another. So it's the same application layout overall, but just different color schemes, and obviously different actions you can perform. So the menu's different, the color of the menu is different, the profile's still the same, etc. But then you see a very different app. So if you've used Jira, you kind of go for it when you go from Jira to Confluence or whatever. You can use the navigation menu in the top left to kind of switch between the application stack. But that way you're focused on the thing you need to be focused on, not on everything. So I don't have to worry about a navigation system that tackles. I apologize if ads start. For those that are new to the stream, if ads start and you are listening to what I'm saying, or you're interested in what I'm doing, just ask me to pause. I will happily pause. Just let me know that ads are running and just seeing them. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on the dogs. So yeah, that's kind of my goal. So what I'm going to do here now is try and lay out planning as a module, and I'd have stories and whatever. So that's kind of what I'm going to go with right now. So ultimately the planning module should have the routing, right? So this should go to dashboard. For app component, no landing page here, so I have to see how this works. So this now, what do I want this to do? Children. Oh, children. It's going to get messy. So, do you remember when I went to Gemini earlier on, right? Gemini.google.com. Using Angular 17, how do I navigate to a nested child route module? In the parents routing, define the parent route. Children. And let's have a look. So that would be this would be dot planning module. How does that know that that's m.planning module? Is it importing it from that? That's same level modules planning module. Okay. Cool. That just work? I think it worked. Okay. So now let's go to. So ultimately that won't be dashboard. Actually, that will be planning. So let's go to our app and change it now so that we can. Planning. Nope. We have some magic code here. Dashboard component, route guards. No button to jump to the bottom. Oh, there you go. Ah, that's why. Router outlet is an Angular component. Verify. Okay, so it's complaining about router outlet. So that's why it's not doing the navigation that way. Because I've got the router outlet in there. Let's remove that for right a second. So it should complain about it in a different way, right? So how do I add component to module Angular? A component, add it to a specific module. How about after the fact? What does it look like? I haven't done this in so long, that's why I'm struggling through this a little bit. So apologies if this looks like I have no clue what I'm trying to do. Hi, wonderful. How you doing? That's an awesome username. You can't help but be complimented when you greet someone like that, right? Very good. Very good. Component, but well, it's because the parent module doesn't have dashboard. Is it declarations? Sorry to be often. Look like I don't know what I'm going to do. Sometimes I really don't know. I'm not worried about doing that. Like, I realize that I'm gonna stutter and I'm gonna fail on the stream. You know, so again, that's why I stream, right? App logout button. So that should go. That should go in the module now. Yep, there you go. It worked. Still saying dashboard. LC Sharp and Angular developer. Nice to see. Yep. Yep. The front end is not my strong point, but it is something that I do want to make. I'm building an application, right? So I have no choice but to do the UI. It's something I want to improve as I go. And yeah, so I'm trying to grow. So for those that haven't seen this before, for anyone new to the stream, I'll just do my kind of run through of what it is I'm doing. So I'm building an Angular. I'm building an Angular app. I'm building an Agile management platform, right? So if you've used tools like Jira, you've gone through Agile practices, if you've gone through Scrums, etc., you know the pain points. I am building an application to improve those things the way I feel that they should be improved after many years of doing this. Right? I'm not a new developer. I have a bit of experience under my belt, and this is something that I feel passionately about. The planning and story planning sessions and the meetings that you have to have, etc., are painful. And beyond that, the administration that you end up doing for the process is more painful. So developers don't get to develop because they're in meetings, they're having to explain to people where things are, they're having to hand things over, having to, is this released yet? Is that not released yet, etc. May I ask what your current position? I'm a software architect. Actually not working on .NET in my day to day right this second, but I am a 20-year .NET developer. So this is very much a passion project, right? So over the last couple of months, I've been building a backend, putting in the components. This uses C# 8, .8, C# 11, with SQL Server primarily as its backing database, and Kafka to publish information, using GraphQL on the front end, on the API side of the read, and then the front end is right now going to be Angular. The aim being that I can put different clients on top of this, right? So, this is something I care very much about. It's something that I am putting a lot of energy into, and I stream 3 days a week with this, minimum 3 days a week with this, to share the path. So much experience to see. I'm watching to see how a person with so much experience thinks about solutions. The thought process is pretty interesting. All my videos are uploaded to YouTube. I stream to YouTube at the same time. So, the back catalog is there if anyone's interested in going through some of those pieces. I am always looking for if there's things that I can help with, if there's videos I can make. I'm making a video this week on Mediator and how I apply Mediator and how it could be useful. If there's videos that you feel that I can make, if there's content you feel I can produce that will help you on your journey, I'm more than happy to kind of accept ideas there. There is a Discord, it's linked in the cards below on platforms. This is kind of what I want to do. I want to share this application development. I'm treating this as if I would a production application. If I was building this for an employer, I'm going through the same steps and trying to be as clear as possible as I go. But the UI side, the Angular side, is not my strongest suit. It is not where I'm most comfortable. From a design standpoint, I'm going to make some missteps. I'm not going to mess around with unit testing and stuff in here because it's just, I don't have the mental bandwidth all the time. So as long as I develop it in a clean way, my attitude towards UI is if I build a strong enough backend and I build a agnostic backend that's not tightly coupled to my front end, then the front end is just a view, and I can redo that view later when I get better at things. Definitely check out your videos. Thanks for info. I might as well hop in the Discord survey. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free. Again, I love talking about software. I love working with software. It is definitely my passion, and that's why I stream. So we have dashboard. We have a module. So Canny, all is not lost on the module side. Yeah, we are learning. Standalone components are built so that you can just build a thing and it doesn't have to be in a module, right? So we can create views that just sit alone and can be reused, right? That's one benefit there. If something doesn't have to be under a module, you can organize your code differently. Now it's starting to dawn on me why modules still exist, but components exist, standalone components exist separately. So you can disconnect them and use them interchangeably. So I can share views down here. So, well, view can't have its own routes. Yeah, you can route to a view. Yeah. So, yeah, modules can have routes. So here I think let's do it now. Path. Let's do a test component. So views. Again, my organization. I will reflect on. I will change as we go. Let's create a new Angular schematic for a component. This is going to be called the... I can't call it test. Cannot call it test. It does not like being called test. Or help, rather. Trying to think of something practical here. Here we go. Planning items. I've really got to remember to do the skip test because I end up deleting it every time anyway. So let's do planning items component. dashboard, planning item component. So go in here. I don't want standalone. I want to go here, and I want to include planning items component. That should start that complaining. I remove the imports, that's fine. Right, so a component can have self-contained imports and stuff and behaviors, so that you don't add, so a module allows you to kind of define all the things that things might require underneath it. But if you have a component that is used between modules, right, now it makes sense. Now it makes a bit more sense. Okay. You can import it separately. So the logout button component, this is a button that I don't want to necessarily have specific to this, and especially for this, right? So this logout button is a component that is now in shared, right? So shared components. So my select list, again, I don't have to have that under a module. Okay. Okay, I like this. I like this. It makes sense. So now we just need to figure out why this doesn't go to. I think we might need to restart that. I don't know what I'm going to build there. So let's see if we can find the word dashboard. No. Dashboard. Okay, dashboard is not in the language here. So I go to the app routes. Planning goes to the planning module. Planning module loads the router for planning routes. So there should be planning/planning items ultimately. And my question is, how do I do a shared layout here? But yeah, interesting to see that you start building the same folder structure like I have for my front end. Means I wasn't that wrong. Or maybe it's just the way the backend devs do things. It's often interesting when you see someone else do something instinctively. They're like, ah, it's not that. I didn't just make that up. It feels natural. That's normally a good indicator as well that you're doing something that is going to make sense. Yeah. So. I don't think of it as wrong. I just think of it as it's actually logical because someone else would do the same thing. Okay, so there you go, planning. You should show something, right? You should show a logout button and what? So can I create? So app component, app, how to outlet, because I kind of want to create it so that this does have a route to outlet, but I don't know how to do that. Okay. That's going to complain at me. Is that ports? Because ultimately I kind of want the dashboard to be literally the shell around the outside, right? It should be the navigation, it should be the top bar, it should be the panel, and again, like I said, like I'm aiming for, right? If I go to Twing, this is the actual router outlet would be here, right? Because everything else would be standardized around it. That's kind of what I'm aiming for here. Whether that's possible or whether that's actually reasonable, I don't know. But yeah, why is that not? Why is that displaying anything? What is that actually displaying? Route to outlet. Is that? That's why. No, because it would actually display something, right? Because it would say "Hello World," right? Hello World. Oh, what am I doing? Hello World. Let's do this. Let's do component planning. Let's do. Right, because that doesn't work now. Hmm. Uh, Submodule. Gemini. Navigate to child. Navigate using the router. Child. Define routes. So it's navigating down here, so it knows it's authenticated, right? That's kind of problem number one. It knows it's authenticated. But it definitely just took me back. That's going to be a problem. We're going to have to figure that out after the navigational challenge there. Component, parent, component, children. Hold on. Is that the problem? So in here, we do routes. I don't have a parent component. I have can activate children. What would the parent component be? What would that even actually be in that case? Unless that is that would be my layout. Let's just test. Um, Default. Let's test that. Default works. Default component standalone. What's there? Default. See the problem with that layout now, that name. Let's go back here. And then the component is default component. Default works. That redirects to planning. So it's going to default and router module, router outlet. So that doesn't get the router outlet now. This gets the router outlet. Okay. Right, no, that would still get the router outlet because it's so confusing. Standalone true. Imports. router outlet, right? And that would be router outlet. So planning module doesn't get default component. Planning items still doesn't navigate there. And dashboard would be my default. Because the router say, okay, landing is dashboard. So dashboard, that needs to go away. Router module, router outlet. It's fine. That would do that. Let's just let's make this less confusing. Like, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off the can activate, right? Because then I don't have any worries about it. I'm not displaying any data at this point, right? So planning items. Why is that redirecting still? Have I got an error in my application and don't see it? Oh. It should be rebuilding every time. So I shouldn't be having issues where happening. The children. Okay. Why are you redirecting? Oh, because I've got it set to do that, haven't I? It's set to redirect. Set to provide router routes. Landing component, planning default component. Yeah, if it's logged in, navigate, right? So I'm doing that. So is this firing? Is that the problem? Is this actually? Yeah, on init. Ah, that's the problem. So, oh no. Oh, I'm not running. So when the app initializes, which when it navigates, when I hit it and hit enter, it's going to initialize. It's going to redirect me back to planning no matter what I do there. So I'm kind of on a losing streak. So if I go to planning now, that's that. Now if I go to planning items, interesting. Shouldn't that routing take over? Because it should go planning items. Or am I mistaking the? I shouldn't have to do planning. Lazy loading. Lazy loading a standalone component. Any route and lazy load its routed standalone component. Loading many routes at once. Load children admin routes. Load children operation now supports loading a new set of child routes without needing to write a lazy loaded ng module that imports router module for child to declare routes. This works when every route loaded this way is a standalone component, right? So I don't want to create a bunch of nested standalone components. This deliberately is a module that I'm trying to do, right? So my understanding was this would be planning, right? So when you navigate to planning, it's going to, oh, that's the problem. Why? That's the issue. I'm an idiot. Path child, I pasted it in there. That's details ID, yeah, that's fine. That would be details. So where would I define? I was mixing two styles. Path load children. Yeah, so I want that. Right? That. Planning items. Yeah, there you go. So planning is loading. So what that's doing is it's loading default words, then it's putting dashboard in there. This is your dashboard. There you go. That's what I want. So this component is default layout. It can be standalone. It has its router outlet. So I can put all the layout in this. And then dashboard is literally just the page. So I mean, it's 9:05. Why do I always get to when you have a time limit on stuff and you get to the point where you think, aha, I literally have an emoji for this. Right? You have that light bulb moment. I got into a habit when I first started streaming of saying I'm thinking in my brain, and I don't know how I managed to get to that phrase, but I got there, and I would say it a lot to the point where I created an emote for that. So let's do this. I'm gonna do it. I need to get on the things, but I really do want to achieve this. So here's how this is gonna work. There's a nice copy button right there. This is going to be the dashboard component, right? Go to the HTML, copy that, then we paste that in there, and now we put router outlet in there. Again, this is our default layout. So now we actually have the option of changing layouts as well, because now we can just build a different layout and swap them in. Perfect for some A/B testing there. And then in the TS file, again, we can copy this in. Now this isn't actually, this is a app default layout component. Right, 'cause it's really this. Right. Standalone true. Imports router outlet. Right. That, and then going to remove that. Import all them. Import that. Right, and that's default layout component. Okay, keyboard shortcuts, refactor, default, layout, default, layout. I know I'm breaking things eventually. App component. Worry about that afterwards. App component, router app. Module has routes, yeah. Default layout component. So now with that, the layout has all that. There you go. So we have a menu, we have our layout, we have that. So we're going to change obviously some colors. Time for bacon. Nice. Enjoy. Bacon. Oh, man. Know what I'm ordering. Bacon. Okay. So, now we have the layout in there. So this layout is now standardized. I can navigate between these, so I can just prove that. Challenge being actually building that. So dashboard, items, and then this would actually be router link equals what router link equals could be that. Planning items. How router links work these days? Let's see. No. Did I stop running? No, I didn't. Teams, items, dashboard. You should read. Is this actually holding on? Network, disable cache. There you go. Why are you failing? It'll be failing, that's why. Oh? Yes. It is very much failing. The ngif directive was using the template, but I know the ngif, right? So, ngif. So things like ngif and stuff, they've changed some of it. You can now, I think, do if as well. Is menu. I think you can do it this way. So I can do that now instead of the ngif. So if you want to do it that way, you can do. So this syntax doesn't require you to do the imports. So if you want to use star ngif etc. now, you have to do like again if. Which this is funny because if you're used to Razor, this is Razor syntax. Oh, why don't you like that? Oh, you do like that. Okay. So if you're used to Razor, this syntax is actually not scary. But now I don't need that. Right? So ng if, right? So I can do if is off canvas menu dialog. Move that. And then where does that div end? That was silly. And if is off canvas menu. Can remove that. So this does make it more blazery. That's a thing. ngif directive, is still one in there? If, yeah, there is. View, okay. If is off canvas menu. But this doesn't require imports and stuff now, so they've moved it. Huh? Oh, that's if is. Hold on. Let me make sure I didn't just completely obliterate a rule. No, I didn't. That's fine. If is off canvas menu. So I can remove that one. I don't know why that's. Why have these all got ngifs? They're all nested underneath the one. They're all nested. They're all nested under this one. Okay. But ultimately, the idea is that, I mean, that's not working for some reason now, but even though it should have reloaded, I should say items. Let's just stop that once. But I think I've achieved roughly, not perfectly, but roughly what I wanted to do today, right? So I have a layout in there. I can put the log out and stuff in there. We can, you know, they've already built the menus for me. I can now. I can sign in, I can log in, I can register, I can do all those sorts of things. I can go to planning, and yeah, that should say items. I don't know why that doesn't. Ooh, I don't like that. That's just team still. Oh, I bet you if I do that, items exist. Yeah, okay. There you go. There's items when it's that way. So the menu's repeated. That's why. So hold on. I do route to link. Does that navigate to where I want it to go? Planning and planning items. Okay, so it just goes to planning items because it's nested underneath the entire. Okay. But I've got the nest in there. So I can now start to build out the UI, and that will deal with the collapse and stuff. I've got the menu in there. I've got the navigation in there. The color scheme is obviously slightly off. So yeah, that'll be it for today. Unfortunately, I do have to go and do some actual paid work. You know, if you've been hanging out and you've been enjoying the content, please feel free to. Please feel free. You know, I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate the attention. And you know, there's the YouTube is linked below if you're on Twitch or Kick. You can check out all the previous content. I've been recording these streams now for 3 months. So this application development is all there. This code is not available, but the Water Drink Water project, the project we work on Monday and Tuesdays, that's all available. You can go and tinker with that. You can download that and do what you want with that, and that will continue to grow. Yeah, if you're on YouTube, please don't forget that like button. The like button helps get more people seeing the content, comments and stuff if you have them, if you have thoughts, opinions on what I should do in terms of content that would be helpful for you as a developer. I'm more than happy to look into producing extra content beyond the stream. Again, like I said, the whole mediator pattern that I use heavily, I'm going to make a video on this weekend and produce that. Yeah, thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate you all. Let's go and see who we should read over to. Older Windows and open source C# applications. So it looks like C# Fritz is doing something cool today. So let's go raid over there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all. I appreciate you all. And yeah. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.